overview of the ProWorkflowX system for Photoshop, the best way to Photoshop ever. In this video, we are going to see what exactly is the ProWorkflowX, every single function on its panel, and what makes it the most efficient way to Photoshop. For your convenience, this video has been timestamped into various chapters, so you can go ahead and skip to any topic that you'd like from the description below. So, if you're as excited as I am, let's get started. There are a lot of ways to process a photo in Photoshop, but there's usually one best approach. And this approach is completely different for a high-end beauty retoucher who deals with highly detailed skin, or a thriving professional photo studio dealing with natural light portrait, or a landscape photographer dealing primarily with dramatic tones and color. And success in any of these genres is not only determined by quality but also by achieving deadlines and sales. With that in mind, ProWorkflowX has been expressly designed for efficiency and accuracy in retouching. So what exactly is the ProWorkflowX system for Photoshop? Well, to get a better understanding, let's begin with what's included with the ProWorkflowX system. First and foremost is the 3-in-1 Photoshop panel with portrait mode for fashion, lifestyle, and portrait retouching. Then the beauty mode for high-end and beauty retouching, and the scene mode for landscape and composites. Next is the ProWorkflowX Photoshop Action Set and 22 tool presets ready for you when you need them. Think of the panel as a remote control, and any button you click will trigger the corresponding action and select the necessary tool preset for you. So you actually will never need to play any action or select the tool preset. ProWorkflowX also comes with a set of 24 high-quality photorealistic brushes. These brushes are well organized into subfolders as basic brushes, retouch brushes, environmental brushes, and art brushes. These brushes range from skin texture, hair strand, hair flow, stubble beard, and all the way to environmental effects like fog, snow, rain, clouds, and smoke, among many others. The basic brush subfolder is free and can be downloaded from the link in the description below. A high-quality studio canvas texture background is also included for use with certain portraits or with digital painting. And finally, to complete the ProWorkflowX system, there are 10 essential Lightroom and Camera Raw presets. Both the versions are exactly the same, giving you consistency no matter which RAW program you choose to begin with. The Studio Light based presets works with all kind of artificially lit images, be it flash or LEDs. It improves the skin tones and enhances the details for a crisper image. The Natural Light based preset is for portraits shot in natural light. It is very similar to the Studio Light but with slightly more dynamic range. You can also use the HDR Landscape base for a further boost in dynamic range of natural light. For a more stylized look, there is Earthy Matte base, Cinematic Film base, and Black and White. The Earthy Matte base gives your image muted tones, and with just the white balance sliders, you can tone your image the way you want. Warmer colors work well with Earthy Matte base, along with some vignette. The Cinematic base emulates the teal-orange film look. And again, all you need to do is find the right white balance to get the perfect color. These two presets alone can cover most of the popular Instagram looks that you see today, and that's precisely what they're intended to be used for, a Lightroom-only workflow for travel or personal images. For images to be edited in Photoshop, use either the Clean Studio or Natural Light based preset. And you can find these exact same presets in Adobe Camera Raw, minus the lens correction and vignette ones. For those who love using the Camera Raw filter, you can also apply these presets to a single PSD layer or even a JPEG file. Now let's begin with the ProWorkflowX panel overview. The panel has 3 sections. The top section of the panel includes an undo and redo button along with a tool set. The middle section of the panel is divided into 3 tabs of Portrait, Beauty, and Scene modes. The bottom section of the panel is divided into drop-down tabs of Power Tools and Techniques and Export and User Actions. Let's start with the top section. This section is always active no matter what mode you're on. The Undo or Redo button lets you undo or redo your steps up to 1000 times. The default number is 20. To increase that number, go to Photoshop Preferences and choose Performance. Under History and Cache, set the History State setting to a desired value. The recommended setting is between 200 to 500 as it doesn't affect Photoshop's performance and still gives you a lot of undo states. The tool set gives you a quick access to the most essential tools for photo retouching. These tools are always away from the clutter, ready to be picked. They are the exact same tools found in Photoshop, but unlike the default ones, they don't get lost when you cycle through the hidden tools. In the midsection, first is the portrait mode, which is ideal for not only portraits, but also fashion and lifestyle images. The portrait mode is subdivided into Skin Retouch Pro, Color Grade Pro, and Photo Illustration. The first step in skin retouching is healing and cloning. As a reminder, you will be prompted with these tips. This button creates a new healing layer with a spot healing tool selected for you. Use the spot healing tool to clean all visible spots on the skin and actually anywhere in your image. You can also use the patch tool or healing brush or clone stamp to clone out blemishes on the skin if required. When done, choose a step 2, either full body, mid-length or headshot, depending on your image. The brush tool with proper settings is selected, and all I need to do now is paint only those areas of the skin having uneven skin texture or color transitions. Your images can be 8-bit or 16-bit. The panel will auto-detect it and choose the appropriate settings without you having to worry about them. Do not paint over any edges or corner areas of the skin. You can fine-tune the smoothness level by adjusting the opacity slider of the smooth layer. The plus side is to increase the smoothness, and you need to move the opacity slider in that direction, and the minus side is to decrease it. Same with the skin texture. Use the opacity slider of the texture layer to increase or decrease the texture details. Step 3 is color dodge and burn. Although step 1 can be skipped to start directly with step 2, that is full body, mid-length or headshot, step 2 can't be skipped if you want to do color dodge and burn. If you want to directly go to color dodge and burn, you will still have to click on any one of the step 2 and then move on to step 3. So, once you press the color dodge and burn, a soft brush tool with low flow settings will be pre-selected for you. What we are going to do in this step is even out the color transitions. So press Alt or Option key to sample a desired mid-tone skin and gently paint over highlight and shadow areas of the skin to blend the color transitions. If you want to recover burnt out hotspots, choose a lighter shade of the midtone and paint on the highlights. And although you can't recover the darkest black shadows, you can still lighten some shadow areas by selecting a darker midtone and painting over it. The fade button in the power tool section comes very handy to reduce the opacity of each brush stroke to get the perfect blend. You can also match skin tones by sampling from one area and painting over the other. Once you are done, you can also adjust the overall opacity to tone down the entire effect. Next is Enhance Eyes. This creates 3 separate layers to target specific areas of the eyes. The brush tool with appropriate settings and the Brighten Eyes Whites layer will be selected for you to start with. Gently paint over the white areas of the eyeball to clean them up. When you're done, select the mask of the Iris Sparkle folder and gently paint over the iris to add sparkle. Again, use the Fade tool to fine-tune the intensity of your brush stroke. Iris color can also be changed by painting on the Iris Color Adjustment layer. By adjusting the hue slider, you can get the right color you want. This step is optional and should be used only if required. Next is Whiten Teeth. The brush tool with appropriate settings is pre-selected for you. Gently paint over the subject's teeth to naturally brighten them. Very simple and effective. With the skin tone, you can get a smooth and uniform skin color. The brush tool with appropriate settings will be pre-selected for you. You might need to match the skin tone by slightly adjusting the hue slider, like so. Then go on and paint over the rest of the skin. Paint on oversaturated skin areas so that it blends and has an even color saturation. Skin Glow lets you contour the skin by adding a gentle sheen to it. The brush tool with appropriate settings is pre-selected for you. Paint over the skin highlights very gently to add a soft glow. Skin texture can be added digitally to certain areas of the skin that are soft. A custom skin texture brush tool is pre-selected for you. Paint to reveal the texture in skin areas which have lost detail. Now let's move on to Color Grade Pro. All these color grades are not random presets to try one after the other on any given image. They are specifically designed for certain scenarios and lighting situations. The cinematic color grade creates the popular teal-orange look for your image. An auto skin mask is created to warm the skin and separate it from the teal shadows. This mask can be adjusted manually if required. The skin tone is fully adjustable. The teal color can be fine-tuned if required. The polarized layer controls the shadow contrast. Vogue creates the color harmony used in celebrity portraiture and editorial fashion photography, popularized by the likes of Annie Leibovitz and Norman Jean Ray. An auto skin mask is created to protect the skin from the cool shadows. If required, the mask can be edited further by painting on it, and the shadow tint layer can be modified via its color balance sliders. The skin hue can also be fine-tuned to give you control over the skin tone. This effect works best with images shot in studio or with flash outdoors. Renaissance can be used in two ways. Option 1 is the default. It creates a classic warm highlights and matte greenish gray shadows to replicate the classic color scheme and the tone of master paintings like Rembrandt. Interestingly, this color scheme also is seen in some of Annie Leibovitz's portraits. This works best with low-key images shot in the studio or with window light. The second option is by turning off the visibility of the layer's age filter and candle warm tone and increasing the opacity of the green tint layer to 100%. You can get the fluorescent lighting effect for use with urban fashion images. Vintage adds authentic looking vintage colors from the 1970s era color reproduction to any image. All these layers are fully adjustable. Candy is a multi-purpose recipe for vibrant colors. Use the optional rainbow overlay for dreamy daylight images, which can be resized and placed anywhere. With the rainbow layer off, it also works great with landscapes, especially sunsets and nightlife images. For a bright airy look, you can combine it with the warm flare effect. Warm flare adds a light glow or flare which can be scaled to any size and moved around to a desired spot in your image. To seamlessly blend flare with the image, a warm ambient light diffusion layer is created, of which the intensity can be controlled via the layer opacity. With Polarizer, you can instantly overpower the sun. It creates a look popularized by the 2010 Gucci ads with dark teal skies and golden brown shadows. An auto skin mask is created to warm the skin and separate it from the muddy shadows. This effect works best with fashion images shot in strong daylight or with flash outdoors. Lifestyle creates a crisp, warm look with a hint of cool shadows. This effect is ideal for lifestyle portraits of kids, teens, families, and wedding engagement sessions. Autumn turns all the greens in the image to a warm autumn leaf color. This effect is ideal for portraits shot in natural green environments. Film Shift is a perfect creamy film color finish to any digital image. Designed for subtle use, it can also be used for dramatic Polaroid-style film look by increasing the opacity of its layer group. This effect can also be mixed with other color grades. Black and white tones creates a black and white conversion using one of the most effective techniques that gives you full control over the tonal range of your image. The black and white details base controls the details and clarity. With the black and white adjustment layer, you can individually fine-tune the black and white tones based on their respective colors. You also have an S-curve contrast layer, and on the top are optional tones. You can add a sepia, selenium, or a silver gelatin tone by simply turning on their layer visibility. The Apply LUT button gives you instant access to the Color Lookup Table Adjustment Layer dialog box. The final section of the portrait mode is photo illustration, which contains two stylized looks. The grunge portrait is a complex technique that has been simplified to a press of a button. It gives an overall gritty feel to the image with muddy brown tone and muted colors. All the layers are adjustable, and this effect works great on portraits of old men to enhance wrinkles and even athletes when their muscles are oiled up for an extra shine. Digital painting creates a realistic oil-on-canvas look. The brushes and layers are selected for you, and all you need to do is paint in gentle dabs to reveal the details of the important areas of your new masterpiece. You can also add a little bit of Photoshop canvas filter and finish it off with a Studio Canvas texture overlay which is included with the ProWorkflowX. The Renaissance color grade usually works well with this look. The next tab in the mid section after the portrait mode is the beauty mode, which is subdivided into Beauty Retouch Pro and Makeup and Hair. The Beauty Retouch Pro section is a set of go-to tools used for high-end beauty retouching. There are 2 ways of healing and 3 types of dodging and burning that professional retouchers swear by and rely on. All these techniques are capable of great results, so the panel gives you the choice to pick your own method. The first button is Split Heal plus Tone Blend. The panel auto-detects if your image is in 8-bit or 16-bit and uses the appropriate settings, and you can dial in the blur radius. The texture layer and an appropriately set healing brush tool is pre-selected for you. With this, you can heal on a frequency-separated texture layer without affecting the colors. You can use the Tone Blend layer to blend colors if required. This is an optional step and ideally should be used in the beginning of the workflow. With the Heal Clone button, 3 different layers will be created with different blend modes and the healing brush tool will be pre-selected for you. All these layers have layer masks and are locked in position to secure them from accidental movements. You can also use the Clone Stamp tool on these layers. For standard healing or cloning work, use the normal blend mode layer. To heal or clone only the dark areas, use the Lighten Blend Mode layer. And to heal or clone only the light areas, use the Darken Blend Mode layer. With the Dodge and Burn curves plus color corrections, dodge and burn layers are created using the curves method along with color correction applied over them as a separate hue saturation clipping layer. The brush tool with appropriate settings is pre-selected for you. If required, fine-tune the hue saturation of the color correction layers. Dodge and Burn 50% Gray instantly creates a 50% gray layer set to soft light mode. The brush tool with appropriate dodge and burn settings and the white color is selected for you to start with dodging. Paint with black color to burn. Use the X key on your keyboard to switch between dodging and burning. Soft Light Dodge and Burn creates a blank layer set to soft light mode. The Dodge and Burn brush tool settings with the white color is selected for you to start with dodging. Paint with a black color to burn. This method is very similar to the Dodge and Burn 50% gray method. Color Fix creates a blank layer set to color mode with the brush tool selected. Press Alt or Option key to sample a desired skin color from your image and gently paint to match hue and saturation in the dodge and burn affected areas. With Skin Tone Balance, the brush tool with appropriate layer mask is pre-selected for you and is very useful especially if the skin has oversaturated yellowish or magenta patches. You can fine-tune the skin color by slightly adjusting the hue slider. Paint over the highly saturated skin areas so that it blends and has an even tone. With Contour and Sheen, paint over the skin gently to add highlights and sheen. The paint layer creates a normal blank layer with the brush tool pre-selected for you. Choose the skin or hair brushes from the brush palette for photorealistic painting. Use the visual help layers to assist you identify areas that need work during dodge and burn. Inverting helps to detect areas that you might overlook in the normal grayscale view. The brightness and contrast of the luminosity help layer can be adjusted when working in bright or dark areas. Dust check layer is also included to identify spots while healing. Split View creates 2 separate windows of the same image document and tiles them side by side. One view can be zoomed into actual pixels while the other is set to fit on screen. You can edit in any view and see the effect in both views simultaneously. This not only solves the most common issue of zooming in and out again and again, but also enables micro and macro dodging and burning at the same time in 2 different windows. When done, close any one of the duplicate windows. The next section is Makeup and Hair. The hair and makeup section tools can be used right after the Skin Retouch Pro section from the portrait mode to further enhance portraiture. With mascara eyelashes, gently paint around the eyelashes and with lower opacity on the eyebrows to give them more definition. With eyeshadow color, gently paint on the eyelids to add color. Choose any eyeshadow color from the Color Fill Adjustment layer. Adjust the layer opacity to fine-tune. With smoky eyes, gently paint in dark eyeshadow for the smoky eyes look. With lipstick shades, gently paint on the lips to add color. Choose any lipstick shade from the color fill adjustment layer, and then adjust the layer opacity to fine-tune. With creamy foundation, paint a creamy base foundation on the skin, preparing it for digital makeup. Be very subtle with the application. With rosy cheek blush, gently paint a rosy shade over the cheekbones, and then use the fade tool or the layer opacity to fine-tune. With bronzer tan spray, paint on the skin to add a bronze tan look. Adjust the layer opacity of the tan and bronzer layers to individually control the intensity. With white powder mask, you can paint in white on your subject's face to create a geisha look. You can also paint in the nail tips to do a French manicure with this tool. With hair color, paint on the hair to add color. Choose any hair color shade from the color fill adjustment layer and adjust the layer opacity to fine-tune. Hair conditioner smooths out your subject's hair to make it soft and silky. Adjust the layer opacity to fine-tune when done. With hair highlight, paint over the hair very gently to enhance the existing highlights. Use the Lighten Facial Hair tool after the main portrait retouch workflow only if required. Gently paint on the facial hair to soften. The final tab in the midsection of the panel is the Scene mode, which has the Quick Mask Pro section for masking and blending. The color buttons on the top creates a quick mask preview of its respective color. You can adjust the selection by using the Refine Mask button. The Refine Mask button lets you take full control of the luminosity range of the quick mask preview in real time via the levels adjustment. Like standard mask, the white areas are the ones that will be selected later. The Load As button loads the final mask preview directly as a selection, curves adjustment, hue saturation adjustment, levels adjustment, or as a color fill adjustment layer. The Curves button under the Load As selection works only with the Quick Mask preview and is different from the Curves button in the Power Tools section, which creates a standard curves adjustment layer. The Lights, Mids and Dark buttons create a quick luminosity mask preview of its respective zone of highlights, midtones or shadows. After you click any button, check in the preview if it covers the area that you want. If not, cancel the mask preview and pick another button. The Cancel Mask button simply cancels the Quick Mask preview. Use it to discard the current mask preview before selecting another one. Like standard mask, the white areas are the ones that will be selected later. You can also choose the first Lights or Darks button, then go to the Refine Mask, and for lights, move the shadow slider all the way to the highlights and you can get the entire luminosity range. Additionally, a black and white adjustment layer is created for luminosity masks only to take even further control of the mask preview using specific colors in your image. Next to the Refine Mask is a set of refining tools. Use them to paint over the Quick Mask preview. The Dodge tool lets you paint white over the gray areas but doesn't affect the blacks. The Burn tool lets you paint black over the gray areas but doesn't affect the whites. Paint White tool paints everything white, and the Paint Black tool paints everything black. You can also make a selection and fill in white or black in these layers. You can use them multiple times if required. These are the classic tools used for masking with channels, but in a much faster, intuitive and an innovative package. Skin Mask creates a quick mask preview of skin tones. This works best when the skin tones are evenly lit. Color Range opens up the color range for you to make the selection. Make sure that the Select menu is set to Sample Colors and Localized Color Clusters is checked. You can start by using the eyedropper tool to click and make a selection. To select more areas, you can either use the plus eyedropper tool or hold down the Shift key, then click and drag. To remove unwanted areas, use the minus eyedropper tool or hold down the Alt or Option key. On clicking OK, the panel creates a mask preview of the selected color range, which you can fine-tune further by using the Refine Mask button on the panel. The invert and paint in buttons are to be used once your layer has the final mask. The invert button selects the mask of the active layer and inverts it. Click on it again to invert the mask back. This button doesn't invert selections, it is only for inverting masks. The paint in button creates a new group with a black mask of the current layer and selects the brush tool with appropriate settings and lets you paint in to reveal the effect of that layer. This is very handy if you want to mask in a layer which already has a mask, as Photoshop doesn't allow you to have two masks on the same layer. Blend If is a powerful feature for blending light or even color of the current layer with the underlying layers. The Blend If button opens up the Blending Options dialog box for the current layer to blend manually. The Clear Blend If button resets all the Blend If settings to default. The panel has the most important settings of Blend If ready to use, so you don't need to manually do it every time. The Blend If Shadows button blends the current layer with the shadows of the underlying layer. The Blend If Midtones button blends the current layer with the midtones of the underlying layer. And Blend If Highlights button blends the current layer with the highlights of the underlying layer. Many of the panel's techniques like sharpening and film grain have Blend If pre-applied. The bottom section of the panel is divided into two accordion tabs of Power Tools and Technique followed by Export and User Actions. The Power Tools sections begin with the Fade button. With Fade, you can reduce the opacity of the previous command or tool to make it blend perfectly with your image. This is completely different to Layer Opacity, which reduces the opacity of the entire layer. Fade is available only immediately after a brushstroke or a filter. You can't even use the Save command in between. The Layer Copy button duplicates the current layer, or if an area is selected, copies its content from the current layer to a new layer. The Merge Up button merges all visible layers to a new layer right on top of the layer stack. The Content Aware Fill button requires a selection to be made first. This fills the selection with Content Aware and then deselects it. The Content Aware Scale button enables you to resize the images without over-distorting important visual content. It also preserves the image quality much better than traditional transformations. The Warp command lets you drag control points to manipulate the shape of either the entire image or selected area of an image. The Even Saturation button gives you total control over the saturation balance of your image. You can decrease the saturation from oversaturated areas by adjusting the saturation slider of the High Saturation Mask Adjustment layer. And you can increase the saturation from undersaturated areas by adjusting the vibrancy slider of the Low Saturation Mask Adjustment layer to achieve the perfect balance in saturation. The Dynamic Range button creates a Dynamic Range layer folder which opens up the details in shadows and highlights. Additionally, a Daylight Balance layer is also created to correct the white balance. Adjust the opacity of the Dynamic Range and the Daylight Balance layers to find the perfect balance for your image. The Dodge tool creates a single dodge layer using the Curves method. Similarly, the Burn tool creates a single burn layer using the Curves method. The Curves tool creates a standard curves adjustment layer directly from the panel. The Frequency Separation button auto-detects if it's an 8 or 16-bit file and separates the image into texture that is high frequency and blur that is low frequency layer based on the parameters you set. Work on the blur layer with Clone Stamp to fix skin color transitions and on the texture layer with the Healing Brush to fix the skin texture. Additionally, a Color Dodge and Burn layer is created in between to correct the color tones if needed. The IHP button is a smart inverted high-pass effect, so the Gaussian blur and high-pass levels can be readjusted anytime via smart filters. The brush tool with appropriate settings is pre-selected for you. Gently paint to reveal the effect. The matte effect gives your image a matte look by fading the blacks and whites. The intensity of the effect in shadows and highlights can be controlled individually. The Texture Overlay button lets you choose a texture or an image file you want to place as an overlay. A Studio Canvas texture background is included with the ProWorkflowX, but you can use this tool to place any texture image you have on your computer. The Transform tool will be selected for you. Simply rotate the texture file to create the orientation and transform it to fit your image. When done, the Brush tool will be selected for you to mask out the important areas if required. For most textures, the soft light blend mode works best, but you should experiment with other blend modes as well. The vignette button adds a smooth, dark vignette layer around the corners of the image without affecting much of the highlights. Adjust opacity to fine-tune the intensity. The film grain adds an authentic layer of film grain over the image. Since it's a smart filter, you can adjust the grain size and also adjust the opacity to fine-tune. The Sharpen button creates a sharpened smart object layer which can be fine-tuned anytime. With the Smart Liquify button, you can apply Liquify non-destructively as a smart filter. It's a good practice to use the Liquify in the end of your workflow, but in case you don't, now you have the Update Reliquify button. The Update Reliquify button instantly modifies the liquify adjustments, incorporating all recent layer edits at any given stage of your workflow. You can also revert the liquify anytime by clicking on the update first. This brings the liquify on top of all the layers with all recent adjustments, and now you can simply turn off the visibility to revert the liquify. The Make Smart button converts the active layer to a smart object layer. The Smart Copy button creates a new smart object via copy which is not linked to its origin. This duplicate smart object layer is an independent copy and hence the edits won't be mirrored on its original. The Edit Smart button lets you edit the contents of a smart object. For RAW files opened as a smart object, this command opens up the Adobe Camera RAW filter. Next is the Export plus User Action section. The Duplicate button instantly creates an exact but independent duplicate copy of your document from its current history state into a new window with all the layers intact. The Flatten button merges all the layers into the background layer. The Save As button opens up the Save As dialog box for saving the file. The Resize Sharpen button duplicates the image document and allows you to resize with custom image dimensions. A Sharpen Intensity layer is created to adjust the sharpening of the resized image. You can flatten it after adjustment. The Save for Web button opens up the Save for Web dialog box for saving the file. With the user actions from A1 to G5, you can link up to 35 of your favorite and most used actions from any other set to these buttons. As an example, the A1 button currently contains an autofix adjustment action and is included with the panel. Let's add another action to use with the A2 button on the panel. So the first step is to drag and drop any action from another set to the action set PWX user actions in the action palette. Next, rename the action exactly as the name of the button on the panel you want it associated with. So in this case, A2. Finally, delete the pre-installed A2 dummy action. Now you can run this new action when you click the A2 button on the ProWorkflowX panel. So there you have it. I hope this gives you a better understanding of all the tools on the panel and how they can add simplicity and speed to your workflow. Even if you're new to Photoshop, ProWorkflowX is a great learning tool. And of course, if you're a seasoned professional, ProWorkflowX is a powerful business tool which can help you achieve consistent top quality results in no time and impress your clients. So if you have any questions regarding any tools or workflow, please leave them in the comments below. There will be loads of Photoshop and ProWorkflowX tutorials coming very soon on this channel, so make sure to subscribe. Until next time, happy retouching!